What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Two Game Podcast. I am Matt Primo, joined by Chris Norman.
Hello, everyone.
And this week, episode 144, we are back to talk about our playlist as per the normal and a couple of different things as well. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which we talked about on the last episode. I don't know if that actually made it into the final cut of that episode, so people might not understand that reference. But I did play Black Flag regardless. Silent Hill 2 Remake also got a new trailer for the release date and all that during the Sony State of Play. So we're going to be talking about that. And then a couple of rumored games for the Nintendo Switch 2. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our playlist, sir.
All
What have you been
right.
watching? Is your playlist any different than it was last week? Now,
Slightly.
to be completely fair, I might be making a bunch of references to the last episode. That episode got cut up. It was probably an hour and a half long, and we lost probably about an hour.
It wound up being like the first season of 13 Reasons Why. It's like every 5 minutes we find a new tape or snippet that we mentioned and forgot about, and it was all part of the. It's fine.
Yes,
It'd be like that.
It'd be like that sometimes, man.
Yeah.
But the main thing is we cut out the big segments of that episode, and that's all that matters. Okay.
Sure did. You salvaged the good stuff. You're right.
Y'all just missed the juicy parts a little bit.
Mostly the douche cockery. But that's all right.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, yes.
But
right, so what have you been watching?
Let's see. I finished up Archer. I know last time I was on here that we actually were able to post it. I was talking about that a little bit, and I was like in the middle of the second season, but I mean, just blasted through 13 seasons of that. It's super short, super hilarious. Watched the first 4 intro episodes to the new season of My Hero, which, as My Hero always does, it's kind of just like recap episodes to prime you up and get you ready. But still, I was all about it. I can't wait for it. It's going to be so good. And got about 10 minutes into the first episode of Demon Slayer, but decided that I'm just going to be patient and wait on the dub. Because as bad as I want to see it, I don't want to ruin it for myself. But did try.
This is just, I am not interested in this arc, honestly. This is my least favorite arc that's coming up.
Well, I haven't read the manga, so I mean, I'm pumped about it, but I don't know to be disappointed. So until you just said that, so thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
But we should. I would assume that it's not going to be as action packed as some of the and dramatic. Obviously, it's not. It's definitely not going to be as dramatic as some of the other seasons because it's just the training arc. But I would assume that there's going to be. It's mainly going to be a character development season. Which, when you read the manga, it's kind of hard to get through all that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to translate better into an anime form rather than the manga.
And obviously I can't comment on anime versus manga because I haven't read it. But as far as the buildup of the season, I am personally very excited about it because we've seen a lot of development up to this point for Tanjiro, but it's all been forced development. I mean, this kid's just been thrown literally from one demon to another demon, then to a bottom 6, then to a top 6. Like, he's never really had much of a chance outside the occasional recovery Rocky montage at the base camp or whatever to heal up and run around, So I'm excited to see how he develops amongst his peers versus just with this one particular Hashira fighting this one particular demon, So I think it would have, again, don't know what's going to happen because haven't read it, but just looking at it introspectively from where the show started to where it is now and how far he's come without, like, I won't say without any form of formal team training, but with only bits and pieces of it at a time rather than just kind of a jumbled reckoning, if you will. I'm pretty excited to see how it plays out.
As much as this was my least favorite arc in the manga, I will say this. You 100% need this arc for the final arc. Or it might be 2 arcs. There might be 2 arcs left, I think. Or 3, I can't remember. but you definitely need this one for the last ones. So it's kind of a necessary evil.
Just gonna have to hold off on 2024, I guess, and take one for the team, huh?
The dub's not out yet.
Oh, I checked it a couple days ago, and there were 4 episodes up, but they all still said subtitled.
Oh fuck.
And when I've got my Crunchyroll set to dub, and when I started playing it, it rolled into the sub. So I'm assuming it hadn't, unless it came up like last night. I don't know.
Demon Slayer is always very slow when it comes to releasing the dub episodes.
You're not wrong. Most shows that I follow week to week are 2 weeks behind. Demon Slayer is usually a solid 4. But they'll get 4 or 5 episodes behind, and they'll release 3 dubs at a time to catch up. But, still, it's aggravating shit.
Like, y'all know when it's going to be released. Why don't you just fucking release it when the sub comes out, Like, I get it. There's a lot more shit to it. Like, obviously, the Japanese studio does it, and they do the sub, and then they have to send it off to the dub studio, and then they have to dub it. I get all that, but just let me bitch about it, okay? I want my cake. I want to eat it too.
I get that that's why they do it, but I don't get that that's how they do it. I mean, if you know it's going to release anyway, why don't you just send the American team or whoever does the English dubs copies of it beforehand? I mean, they're copyright infringements. It's not like they could leak the shit and not have to pay millions for it. It makes no sense.
I have no idea, sir. I wish I knew because I'm not happy about it.
It's probably a Christian question. He probably knows exactly why. It's all right. We can just bitch in the meantime. I'm with you.
Hey, what is a 2-game episode without some bitching, okay?
But, yep, that's pretty much it for me.
So, I'm not going to rehash some of the things that I had mentioned on the last episode, okay? There are reviews out on our YouTube channel, okay? There are links down below. You can click those links. It'll send you to our YouTube channel, or you can search for Surfing the Stream, 2-Game Podcast, whichever. And there's reviews for like Madam Web and all kinds of new movies that have come out recently, okay? I'm cutting it back, doing short form content with some of the reviews, and it's been very beneficial, I think. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Madam Web, go check out that on our YouTube channel, okay? But other than that, I did watch the movie Abigail, which, again, you can check that out on our YouTube channel. Fury Road, again, I have a review for that, and Furiosa, Furiosa, sir. Are you a Mad Max fan?
I liked it. I think I saw it like once, maybe twice, but I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I did enjoy it.
You mean Fury Road or like the OG Mad Max movies?
Oh, I saw the OG Mac. That was a long ass time ago, though. I couldn't tell you anything about them at this point, but I meant Fury Road.
Okay. So I went and saw Furiosa opening night because 1, it was getting great reviews. 2, I just watched Fury Road and I was like, fuck this, man. Like, there's no way this shit can't be good, Because I remember talking to Tyler about this movie and how I just did not like the trailer. I think honestly, Furiosa has one of the worst trailers out there because it just killed my excitement for it whatsoever when it first got announced. So I went into it with super high expectations because, again, I love Fury Road. I think it's one of the best action movies of all time. Furiosa 100% did not disappoint. Now, I do also have a review on that as well on the channel. I have a instant reaction and a review on our TikTok as well. So I got reviews everywhere, guys. Furiosa is my number 1 movie of the year so far. And I absolutely loved it. I think it complements Fury Road so well. It makes Fury Road better, I think. And I was kind of surprised. They said this was a prequel, obviously. I was kind of surprised with just how far up to Fury Road they took this movie, and I'm not gonna spoil anything because it was kind of a surprise for me. So Furiosa, one of the best movies of the year, my number 1. I don't know if it stays number 1 or how high it stays with the rest of the release calendar, but right now it is my number 1. And with that being said, it is bombing at the box office, sir. And
is it really?
Yes.
Like absolutely tanking?
Yes, absolutely tanking at the box office. It has not made its money back. Actually, Memorial Day weekend was the worst Memorial Day weekend in, I want to say since it was like the 70s or the 80s or some shit like that.
Oof.
Yeah, like they made like $30 million in their opening week, opening 4-day weekend for Furiosa. So, which sucks because it is such a damn good movie, and it is 100% a movie you should go to see in theaters. And it's also disappointing because there's supposed to be another Mad Max movie called Wasteland, and apparently it's already been written. They just were waiting to see how Furiosa was going to do before they actually moved forward with it. And it was going to focus on Mad Max again with Tom Hardy, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, oh damn, dude, that would have been fucking good. But now I'm just like, we're probably not going to get that sequel at this point.
Nah, not if it's doing that bad. That does suck. Cause Tom Hardy ain't cheap.
No. And if you go back and look at some of like the not interviews, but like some of the rumors that had happened with the movie and whatnot, a lot of people did not like Tom Hardy on that movie. So I don't know if they would even ask him back. I would just assume that he was coming back.
I would think. Yes.
Yeah, but apparently him and Charlize Theron did not get along.
Apparently, a lot of people in Charlize Theron don't get along. She seems to be just one of those actresses that, like, people legitimately just dread working with. I've heard certain people talk about it on podcasts, and I forgot who it was, but this one, I think she was a B-list actor when she worked with Charlize Theron, but she was, at the time, she was popular enough to be on whatever podcast I saw a clip of it on. But anyway, she pretty much just said never again. She said, I don't care what it would do for my career, I'll never work with her again. Apparently, she's like the, what's his face?
Is she the Bruce Willis of women?
That would be the one, yes. The Bruce Willis of the actress world.
It's funny because guys, that's not a rumor. Like I heard this from people. I went and I don't know if you know this. You probably do. I talk about it a lot. I was an extra on Jurassic World.
Yes, I remember.
No, we've never heard this story before.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And I remember when we were eating lunch one day, like some of the people that actually worked on the movie came out and we all asked them questions, and they were like, "Who's the worst actor that you worked with?" And they're like, "Bruce Willis, 100%."
How big of an asshole do you have to be to stand out above a crowd of assholes? Like, like I would imagine there are a lot of actors and actresses that production people can't stand, but to have absolutely no hesitation when you think about every single movie you've ever done, and it just be one person around the room. That dude must be a dick.
Yes, which sucks because his movies were so good in the 90s.
Yeah, well, guess it got to his head.
Yeah, but yeah, Furiosa guys, if you're watching this and you've watched my review and you had any kind of like anything in your mind, like should I go see it in theaters? Should I not go see it in theaters? Go see it in theaters. Okay, we have $6 Tuesdays at the Movie Tavern. Go pay $6. Movie is 100% worth $6. Okay, go check it out. Dune Part Two. Finally watched that because after I watched Furiosa, I was thinking, okay, is this my number one? I still haven't watched Dune Part Two. Furiosa is still my number one after watching Dune Part Two. Dune Part Two is like number two at this point. Really, really great movie. Very, very dense. Have you seen Dune Part One?
Mm-mm. No, I went to watch it like a few months ago, but somebody told me just wait till the second one comes out and watch them both because apparently the first one is just a shitload of rhetoric.
That is yes.
Which I'm fine with, but
you absolutely need to watch both of these back to back. It's going to be a long watch, but you need to because these movies are so dense with lore and politics and different factions that it's kind of overwhelming at times. I bought the book and I just started reading the book the other day to hopefully help me better understand the movies a little bit better.
Make it make a little more sense.
Yeah, because at the end of Dune Part 2, no spoilers, but it was just like, I was kind of confused. I'm like, wait, wait, what? Like I thought this was that, and I was totally confused. And I know that's super vague, but again, I don't want to do spoilers. Um, so I would definitely recommend watching both back to back. And it's not one of those movies that you can start. No, you need to watch the first one all the way through, and then maybe like the next day watch the second one. That's what I would recommend.
All right. I might just marathon them both tomorrow.
Bastard.
No, I'm going to play Final Fantasy VII. That's what I'm going to do.
Right? I'm not wasting this opportunity.
Yeah, I know. I'm not squandering this. Won't get it again for 6 months.
Baby Driver, finally watched that. Got that off my watch list. Pretty good movie. Godzilla X Kong, Godzilla Cross Kong, Godzilla and I don't know. The new Godzilla Kong movie. I watched that. There's also going to be a review up on that this week. The First Omen, watch that. Also going to be a review up this week. Don't want to spoil the review there. And I ended up watching some Pirates of the Caribbean, the first movie. I'm going to end up watching the trilogy in the next couple weeks. And then I watched some Georgia baseball, man. Those I say that's it, but that's a lot of fucking shit that I've watched over the past.
That's a pretty good list, yeah. That's a pretty good list. What's your favorite Pirates movie of the trilogy?
You know,
actually, no. You know what? Actually, rank those in order.
So I haven't seen 2 and 3 in a long time. Okay, so I'm going based off of what I would have said 10 years ago.
Okay.
And this might be controversial because a lot of people give these movies shits. Okay, I think the first movie is the worst out of the 3.
Me too.
A lot of people say it's the best. I disagree.
Me too. 1,000%.
And like I said, I can't I'm gonna go with At World's End at number 1, Dead Man's Chest number 2.
No, or just reverse order. All right, fair enough. I go 2, 3, 1, but you could interchange them. They're fine as long as they're both As long as it's acknowledged that they're both significantly better than the first one. I'm cool with that.
So you think it's 3, 2, 1?
No, 2, 3, 1. I like Dead Man's Chest.
Okay.
Then the third one. Then the first one.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen those 2 movies in a long time. I might be more along with what you're saying. But I remember that third movie being in theaters and it just being so much fucking fun.
Well, if you haven't watched them since you became a hardcore movie critic, then they're all going to suck at this point, buddy. I'm just going to go ahead and warn you. They're not for the faint of heart. You got to go into it knowing how cheesy they are. But, yeah, I would still go 2, 3, 1.
I used to love those movies, man. I used to love them.
Well, they've always been fun, but I've never been a harsh movie critic either. I'm very easily amused.
That's true. That's true. Since doing the podcast, it has ruined several movies for me. Several movies. But I think Johnny Depp just, like, he becomes more of what Jack Sparrow is in 2 and 3 than he was in 1. Like, they just let him go loose in those movies.
Yeah, 1,000%. You're right.
And the thing about 2 and 3, I love the fact that they expand on the lore. I mean, if you think about it, 1 doesn't have a ton of depth to it. I mean, it's the curse,
not so much.
The zombie pirates, and that's really it. Like they mention Davy Jones in that movie, but you know, Dead Man's Chest, obviously it brings out the Kraken and all this other shit. It starts really leaning into like the more like fantasy, science fiction aspects of the series, which I actually prefer.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I agree with all of that. It does seem like the first one was really just an intro to the universe that barely scratched the surface. Which again, still enjoyable, but it wasn't 2 or 3.
No. So if you're out there and you are a Curse of the Black Pearl defendant and saying it is the best of the trilogy, you're wrong. I'm sorry.
Get good.
Now, granted, it is still better than. Again, like you said, it's not a bad movie. It's actually a good, entertaining movie. I think I gave it 4 stars. Like, it's still a great movie. It's still head and shoulders above anything that comes after 3, though. I'm just going to say.
Oh, yeah, I know. The other ones don't even count. No, I wouldn't even. That's as.
Those aren't very good. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we don't have to go down that road.
So what have you been listening to, sir?
Um, a lot of the usual. I did listen to Eminence after you told me about them. Pretty big fan. The vocals
Yes.
the vocals are a little bit heavier than I normally dig into, but along with the instrumentation, it's sick. I'm there for it. Like I like it a lot. Um, I don't know if this is a new song or not, but it's new to me. But I accidentally stumbled on Electric Callboy's new collaboration with Baby Metal, Ratatata, Ratatata. I don't know how you say it.
That's where I would go. It's a Pokemon song.
Yeah, it's a Pokemon song. But I don't know how I have never heard that unless it really is new. But man, Electric Callboy never disappoints. I've listened to that song like 8 times in the last 2 days. It's so good.
I haven't listened to it yet. It's a new song.
Okay, all right. I don't stay in the loop on you music people, but I did stumble across it and I was like, that is dope. And I like Baby Metal too. They sound cool as hell. I know I'm probably like one of 1,000 people in America that digs it, but they're pretty sweet. I saw a comment that said this was the best German-Japanese team up since World War II, and it almost made me piss myself.
Yes.
And then the
Yes.
comment right under it was, that did not end well for them. I was like, yes, the internet is fierce, and I love it.
The internet can be a great place sometimes.
Yes, it can. That's about it.
All right. So I've also been listening to Eminence because it is my album of the year so far. Bring Me to the Horizon just came out with a new album. Been listening to the fuck out of that.
Pretty good. Haven't heard it yet.
It is. So let me tell you, give you some examples of what this album sounds like. Okay. They went and made an emo record. Straight up, like they went into it wanting to make an emo record, and they 100% nailed that aspect of it. I think. I think with there's like 16 songs on the album, and I think with the exclusion of like 2, and they're not bad songs. They're just when you put them in comparison to everything else, it's like this is kind of boring, honestly. And I could skip this if it wasn't a part of the album. But really, it's just only 2 songs on the album that I just not a huge fan of. At one point, they sound like now a lot of people say they sound like Deftones at certain aspects of the record, which if you are not a fan of Mood Ring, you would definitely say that they sound like Deftones, but they sound more like Mood Ring rather than Deftones. Now, Mood Ring sounds like Deftones, but it's a little bit more pronounced, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So there's like one track on there is like, dude, that's a Mood Ring song. 100%. Like it even has the same riff.
No shit, huh?
So it sounds like that. It sounds like a mix of punk, pop, emo. I can't even think of the damn name now. Fall Out Boy. It sounds like Fall Out Boy at times. It sounds like Blink 182 a lot on this album. And the best part
that sounds like my album of the year.
But the best part is, now they don't do a whole lot of screaming on previous records because they've kind of gone this new genre route, whatever the fuck. It's Bring Me the Horizon genre, essentially. And they scream on this album, and they don't scream all the time, but when they do, it's so fucking good. So good. And it just enhances it. And at times, I remember texting Tyler and being like, dude, this album is fucking wild. With some of the shit that they put on this album, it is absolutely insane. So, really, really great album.
That just listening to you describe it sounds like I'm going to listen to it in like an hour. That sounds honestly impeccable.
It's like I said, very poppy, very punky, and it just like I even got the All American Rejects at like certain aspects, like a song or two. I'm like, that sounds like a All American Rejects song, or like an aspect of one of their songs. And I was 100% down for it, man. Like it gives me new, what's the word I'm looking for? Gives me new hope for Bring Me the Horizon, because I think I wasn't a huge fan of like their original single that came out for this album, which is one of the songs that I don't really care for. But like the more I listen to it, the more I just love it.
The balance of screaming that really hooked me. That's how I like heavy vocals built up into an album, but I don't like bands that's all they fucking do. Like screaming should be like it should be in the bedroom. If it's in the first 2 minutes, it's fake and forced. But if there's a build up and then a pinnacle right before the climax of the album in the back half, you fucking earned it. So
I forget what song it is, but they do it like a little. It's not a robot, but it kind of it's not Ollie's voice. It's a different voice, and it sounds kind of like maybe like a little girl, and she's like, "I'm headed for a breakdown," and they fucking hit a breakdown right with
nice.
that lyric. And I'm like, okay, listen, that might sound if you say breakdown leading into a breakdown, like I get it, that sounds a little on the nose, but it fucking works, okay? It fucking works.
No, I bet it's awesome.
It's so good, dude. Like I'm telling you, when he brings in the screams, it's as someone that wanted more screams from this band, I love it's definitely gonna be more for you because it definitely doesn't have as much screams as like their previous records, for sure. And it's very, very sporadic. But it was just the right amount for the emo record, I think.
Nice.
Which I'm going to be reviewing that album next week, so be on the lookout for that. Also been listening to some Not Loose era Avenged Sevenfold self-titled. Mr. Chris Norman here was the one that got me hooked onto that album. Still top 10 all time for me.
Thank you, sir. That's my one musical accomplishment with you over the years, so I'll hang on to it.
Right. Every time I listen, I've listened to it about 3 times in the last week, and I'll get into those little moods. I'm like, you know what? I just want to listen to this Avenged Sevenfold album, and for the next week, that's all I'll listen to. It's so good.
Dude, I was talking to Curtis the other day. It's so funny you brought that up. That video that I sent you a while back where he accidentally figured out when we were like 12 how you can time the song of critical acclaim to the intro to Assassin's Creed. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? He randomly brought it up, and I was like, dude, I just remade that like 3 months ago so I could send it to Primo and Tyler. Like, this shit was so cool. He literally, the old Xbox 360s when you turned them on, they had a green screen while you waited on the game? So he turned it on, and then he was just literally just shuffling through my albums that we had saved onto the 360, and he started that album just so he could listen to it while he played. But as soon as he hit play, the intro video to the game started, and they were just synchronized. And he said it was like just the most eye-opening thing he had ever seen in his entire life.
Yes.
Then when I got home, we had to spend 45 minutes trying to recreate it with the perfect timing. That shit was so dope. The stuff you do when you're children.
Right? But that's great shit right there to me. Been listening to Dayseeker. They're usually every week for me. Absolutely love that band. Now, I kind of know what you've been playing, but I'm a segue from the last thing that I've been listening to into what I've been playing.
Okay, that's cool, man. Fuck me. That's fine.
Like right here, right now. All right, guys. I'm gonna make a new tier on the Patreon. This is gonna be the ultimate shout out tier. Okay, that's how you get our OnlyFans content. So,
all right,
been listening to a little bit of the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack since I've been watching the movie. Now, y'all will notice. Watch Pirates of the Caribbean. Been listening to the album. Why is he doing all this? I wonder. Oh, I'm glad you asked, because I've been playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag, where I can be a fucking pirate.
Yes.
And what better album to listen to than Pirates of the Caribbean while you're playing Black Flag? Look, it's fucking perfect, okay? Fucking perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to get to a certain point where you won't even need the album anymore.
So, everybody, I last week's episode, I had mentioned that I had never played Assassin's Creed before. Christian, Chris both recommended Black Flag as the game, right? So I downloaded it. It's on PlayStation Plus. You can play it for free. So is a lot of the Assassin's Creed games, which I downloaded them all, basically. So I'm just going to go over the next month or so. I'm just going to be talking about Assassin's Creed. I'm sorry, guys, as I play through some of these games. So I started Black Flag, and I wish this is going to sound like a negative, and it is kind of a negative, but don't think that I dislike the game based off of this, okay? I wish I had played this game 10 years ago when it came out, because it is very, very janky right now in terms of like the running and the controls and stuff like that. I think we just have more the way that like controls have modernized over the years. I think would lend itself to like if they did a Black Flag like remake or something like that, that'd be fucking dope. It just feels a little janky, especially with the running, and like you have to hold down R2 and fucking run at the same time. And then if you're not running, you're walking at a fucking snail's pace. And it's like, okay, guys, can we find like a happy medium between that? Kind of like fast walk or some shit like that. That'd be great. So that's really my biggest negative with the game is I wish I would have played it 10 years ago when it came out. I feel like I'd have a much higher opinion on it, but it's still a great game. I'm in Havana right now, and I'm just running around doing, actually, other than the assassin contracts, I have 100%ed Havana. So as of right now, other than like the main missions and the contracts, as far as getting like the little music notes and all that other shit, 100%. So having a ton of fun. Just like being in the bushes and seeing the guard walk up and then just coming up and bloop, bring him right back into the bushes and kill him.
And then his body just virtually disappears because it's no longer in those bushes. I don't know what the hell you do to it, but you can like walk to the next bush and then come back and it's fucking gone. I used to think that was so funny.
Where did he go?
Did I bury him? I don't.
So one thing that it's kind of annoying about the game, and it's my second biggest issue with the game, and it, again, I'm still having fun with it. It's just, I get why they do it, but I wish there was a way to, and maybe you can tell me about this or not. The guards in Havana, okay? I even think about running on a fucking rooftop and guards are fucking chasing after me, okay? I even think about running in this city, guards are chasing me. And it's like every fucking 5 seconds, I have to hide in fucking hay or hide in some bushes. And then you have to wait what feels like 2 minutes, 3 minutes for your, I call it the 5-star rating from like GTA, for that to fucking calm the fuck down and you're no longer being hunted. That is the most, like, I can handle the controls. I can handle the jankiness of it. The fact that it is so easy to get the guards and the soldiers and whatever to fucking start chasing after you, it's very annoying. Very annoying. You know what? Actually, I'll take that back. The controls and all that is not my biggest criticism of the game. This is my biggest criticism.
Yeah, that's just Assassin's Creed, bruh. I don't really know what to tell you. Like when you're in cities and stuff, they want you to be walking and stealthy. Like they want you to do it as realistic as you possibly could, because the second you start jogging, like if you bump into a civilian in front of a guard, they're going to be inquisitive about you, you know? And unfortunately, that's kind of just how they designed the game to be played. You don't have to do it that way. I used to run. I would scale rooftops, and I would never go anywhere on the street. But you're just kind of just one of those things where if you get caught up there, they're going to want to know why. And then if you don't kill the first one quietly before he calls for help, you're just going to have to fight your way out.
Oh, dude, I've gotten to the point where I just, if I see like 3 or 4 of them, I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking kill all y'all. And that's gonna kill this. That's gonna kill the 5-star rating for me. I'm gonna kill y'all and be done with it instead of just fucking hiding. It's just so much quicker to me.
It was easier in the first 2 games, but then it seems like after after it got into the Ezio trilogy, they just all got, everybody was put on high alert for some reason. I don't know. I do remember that.
I wish there was a way, because there's like alarm bells in some of the some parts of the city. I wish they made that a collectible, like a collectible thing, or like a mission or something like that. That you go and destroy the alarm bell, and then that
Mm-hmm.
kills. Now you're not as much. You're not alarming the guards as often, or something like that. So I
Right.
wish they would have put that into the game and made
They
it
should
an
have.
aspect.
Because it's in, I mean, they've been making Far Cry games for just as long or longer as they've been making Assassin's Creed games, and that's something you do in Far Cry. So it's easily something they could have put in there. Huge miss.
Yeah, but Black Flag, man, a lot of fucking fun. A lot of fucking fun. Unfortunately, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna finish it all the way through right now. I got some other shit I need to play for the podcast. Elden Ring DLC comes out in about 2 weeks. I need to get back to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which, honestly, that would have been a great segue into what you were talking about, but I failed on that. Okay.
All good.
The one other thing that I wanted to mention about Black Flag. This game fucking tells you nothing. Like, you get fucking thrown on that fucking island, and it's just like, okay, you need to go here, and that's legitimately it. And you see all this shit. You see the little shards flying around. You see the little music notes flying around. You see this little thing to kill a fucking a monkey, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck am I doing with all this? Like, they legitimately tell you nothing about any of that stuff. You kind of have to figure it out on your own. So I spent probably like an hour and a half on that island, just fucking around, trying to get used to the controls. The parkour aspect of it, it takes some getting used to, because, again, it's a little janky. But once you do get the hang of it, dude, it's fucking smooth. It's smooth. I like it.
There you go. It's coming. I will say, I'm glad you're playing this one first, because it's definitively the best. Like, Assassin's Creed is not it's not a franchise that you need to start over and play all the way through. There have been decent ones, there have been good ones, and there have been some real shit ones. But Black Flag is a really good balance of all of them.
Yeah.
Especially when you get your own pirate ship and crew.
Yes. So I should be going and hiring people.
If you can already. I don't remember what part of the game Havana was in, but I'm assuming it's at the first or second city, right?
It's the first city. So once you get off the island, you go to Havana.
Yeah, if it's already letting you recruit people, go for it.
All right. So yeah, I think next week, I don't know which. Again, I want to knock out some of these games, bring them to the podcast, because we don't typically talk about Assassin's Creed a lot on the podcast. So I think I have Mirage to play through. Or try anyways. I'm not gonna look. Let's not get it twisted. I'm not playing through all these fucking games. Okay, it's just not gonna fucking happen.
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hours.
I'm gonna dip my toes for the next several weeks in one game, and then the next week I'll dip my toes in another game. Just kind of get my feel for the series, so that when Shadows comes out, we're fucking balls deep in Assassin's Creed, and that's what we're gonna be talking about when it comes out.
Okay.
But anyways,
I will be there with you, friend.
We need to talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because that's what you've been playing, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
I have not played it in like 2 months.
Well, that's what I was going to say. In the last 2 months, the only two things I've played, I have put about 9 hours into Rebirth and about 5 hours into Persona 5 Strikers. But at the same time, in the last 36 hours, I have put 9 hours into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and 5 hours into Persona 5 Strikers. So I legitimately didn't play a damn thing for 2 months. And then this weekend / yesterday, I've just been trying to play catch up, man. It's been amazing. But, oh, dude, Rebirth it's good. It's real effing good, dude. Like, it's already comparable with 16. Like, there are things that 16 will always just be better at it, or be better than it at. But as far as an overall design of a layout of a full game, I think Rebirth might take it over by the time I'm done. And Persona 5 Strikers is just dope, but that's not a conversation we need to have anytime soon. because it's a direct continuation of Royal. So
So Rebirth and 16. I without playing through as much of Rebirth as I would have liked so far, and as fucking cool as 16 is, it's like every teenage boy's wet dream, essentially.
yep.
Like if you thought about something fucking cool as a teenager and growing up watching Dragon Ball Z or whatever, it was in that fucking game. Okay, it was fucking awesome. But when you start diving into like the actual gameplay of 16, there's just so much more in Rebirth to
hmm
do. And I think that's going to be the thing that pushes it past 16 for me as well once I start playing Rebirth again. So I will absolutely agree with you on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you nailed it though. I mean, this dude. There's just so much to do. Like I said, there are things that it's just never going to top 16 at. It's never going to be as well choreographed from a video standpoint. The combats are so similar that they're almost incomparable, but 16 does push it over the top with how you can control your summons and make your own style. You know, the customization of crossing three of them over at a time. That's probably the coolest combat that I've ever played in a Final Fantasy game. But other than those two categories, Rebirth just beats it everywhere else. I mean, there's so much more to do. I'm much more invested in the characters. Um, Honestly, I'm probably just as invested in the story itself. I mean, it's not as cool to keep up with because it's just the cinematography is not anything like 16 was, but it's good enough that I still think I'm probably just gonna outrank it by the time I'm done. I'm about 30 hours into it now, so I
Oh,
think I'm
nice.
still. It says I'm at like 34% too, so I have to
Jesus.
believe it is actually a 100-hour game.
the the thing with 16, yes, I think I prefer that combat way more than Rebirth. Way more. It's much more engaging,
hmm
and I think it's easier to grasp
And it's more
while also
style
being engaging.
oriented.
Exactly, and you can kind of play with what you want, how you want that to go. Uh, but like you said, there's just so much more to do in Rebirth. I don't know. Here's the thing about 16. 16 was so fast paced that it didn't leave a whole lot of room for like character development
hmm
in terms of like, yeah, I love those characters, but it just didn't bring you into those characters as easily as maybe Rebirth and Remake did. Because,
Yeah.
and this could be a positive or a negative, just depends on what you prefer. Remake and Rebirth take their time developing these characters. And then also, we've had two games now with those characters rather than just one. There are slower moments in like Remake, like the
hmm
pacing of that game. It was one of my biggest issues with the game, and it's just because they slow it down to a crawl too much. But it does help kind of make you love those characters a little bit more, I think.
Yeah. I honestly though I preferred the pacing in remake to the pacing in 16. So like the story in 16, well, I won't say I preferred it. They both had their own issues, but my overall point is that the pacing in Rebirth is significantly better than both. But so my issue with the pacing in 16 was that the story was 100 miles an hour, just bam, 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 bam. This is awesome. This is cool. Now I'm doing this. This is fucking awesome. This is cool. I'm 9 hours into just acceleration and foot through the pedal on the throttle, but oh shit, here's 6 hours worth of side quests that if you don't do now, you can't do later. So it's like you got to slam on the brakes and then just drive around the fucking parking lot for a while until the 5 o'clock traffic cleans out. You know, it's like I had no issue with the pacing of the actual story development, but if you want side quests to be side quests, just leave them as that. Don't make me stop and do them. Let me, you know, I don't know. That was, and I guess it didn't bother me that much because again, the controls were so good, and I was enjoying fighting anyway. Except for the the peak right before the last chapter, where it was legitimately 6 hours worth of bullshit that you had to do
Yep.
because if you didn't do it, you couldn't. You know, like it seems like Rebirth. I guess my point in that mini rant. about the game that I absolutely love and still give a 9 out of 10. But the issue with, or the plus for Rebirth is when you come to a new region, you don't have to. I do everything to get it out of the way. That way I can just fast travel everywhere, but you don't have to. The side
Yep.
quests flow with the direction that you're going anyway. You can do it all on a linear scale, and it'll get done when it gets done, or you can just discover the whole world and then go back and fast travel and knock it all out at once. You pace your own gameplay. That was very well done how they designed that. I'm in the 4th region now, and it's the same every time you go somewhere.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And this makes me want to go play Rebirth after we're done with this. I think that's going to be on the agenda today. Okay?
That's what I'm going to do.
Assassin's Creed is going to have to go on the back burner for today.
I promise you won't be alone, friend.
DLC for 16 is finished. I'm disappointed in myself that I have not played that yet. It's just, dude, there's just so much fucking content out there. It's hard to find time, especially with being a parent and
you're right.
Full-time job and whatnot.
I let Dylan borrow my copy of 16 anyway, and because I told him, like I said, I'm gonna play this DLC at some point, but you have plenty of time because I'm not stopping Rebirth. Like if I can be on my PlayStation for any reason, I'm gonna be playing that till I beat it. So I was like, take your time, bud, enjoy it. He might beat the DLC before I do.
Shout out to that. All right. Silent Hill 2 Remake just got a release trailer in Sony State of Play, which, if we're keeping count here, guys, Sony State of Play fucking sucked, okay? I absolutely hated it. They didn't reveal anything other than Silent Hill 2 Remake, which is coming out October 8th. You have never played Silent Hill, correct?
I'm not.
I have not as well. So this is going to be a first time for me. They say the movie is actually really good. I have not seen it, so I need to watch that.
Me either. Watch party?
Yes.
Cool.
So I would recommend going and watch the trailer for Silent Hill 2 Remake. It is third person, over the shoulder camera perspective. Look, it's a Konami game, so Resident Evil. Okay, it looks just like Resident Evil 2 Remake in terms of. For a lot of the trailer, all I thought about was Resident Evil 2 Remake with the way the camera was, and then kind of the environments. The environments look really fucking good. On the flip side, the character faces do not. Did you see the chick?
Oh, I saw the little child. I was like, what is wrong with your face, kid? Because she wasn't even supposed to be possessed or imaginary or whatever the hell's going on. She was just supposed to be a normal kid at that point. I did notice that. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, they're gonna have to fix that. Because I have not heard of. I watched a few like reaction videos and shit like that just to see what everybody else is saying about the game, and everybody kind of has the same opinion that face just looks fucking terrible.
Yeah, touche.
But I was telling you before we jumped into this episode, you said the combat looked great, the game looked great. So here's my thing. Resident Evil 2 Remake. I also get vibes of Callisto Protocol and Dead Space Remake. Dead Space Remake, I played a little bit of Callisto Protocol, and the combat definitely looks like Callisto Protocol, and Dead Space had a baby. Dead Space Remake, I have a Let's Play series on that on our YouTube channel. I played that all the way through, and it was a pretty good game. Like, it's not something that I probably would ever play again, but it was a good like one-time experience for me. And I just watching this and getting those vibes, I'm like, ooh. Like, my excitement was kind of killed a little bit, to be honest with you. What did you think about the trailer?
If you say I said it, I believe you. I don't remember using the word great. I said I thought it looked pretty good, but
okay, sorry,
that's fine.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. No, I mean, it did look like your basic Resident Evil game. You're going to have very limited ammo, and when you run out, you're going to have to pick up a 2x4 and just beat people to death with it. With it does seem like it's going to be. I mean, the game historically, and I haven't played it, but I've talked to a lot of people about it. I mean, it's a psychological thriller. It's not even. It is a horror game because there are moments that are supposed to scare the living shit out of you, but it's more of a psychological thriller, kind of like The Evil Within was. I'm assuming it's just a giant mind F by the end of the game. But I mean, the gameplay looked, at least in the engine trailer, it looked clean, if not too simple. But that's kind of the point. I mean, limited resources and an environment that you can't escape, you know. But again, I've never played it. Other than experiencing the story, I can't really think of a reason I would want to. Based off of what I saw. Because again, it, like you said, it just looks like you're playing a Resident Evil game. So,
which, by the way, I have Resident Evil 4 remake. So we're going to be talking about that in the next week or so on the podcast.
Okay.
So just
nice.
Plug that in there, guys. A little tease the tip a little bit for you. So once I saw this trailer, like I was like, everybody was like, "Oh, Silent Hill 2 remake is being done," and I'm like, "Ooh, another horror game." Like, I like horror games. I don't get to play them as much as I would like, but I'm also a huge horror fan, so just leave it at that. Like I was super fucking hyped for the Callisto Protocol, super fucking hyped, and then once you see the reviews coming out, you see everybody just talking shit about that game and yada yada yada. And then now I'm seeing this kind of look like Callisto Protocol. And I'm just like, ooh, that just, it killed my excitement for it. The trailer got released. So I'm going to say this. My excitement for the trailer, it got revealed. My excitement, sky high, right? When they said they were releasing the trailer. As soon as I saw said trailer, and nosedive.
Even from the reveal trailer, it went down.
Yeah, just based off of the Callisto Protocol and Dead Space Remake. Which, again,
okay.
Dead Space Remake is not a bad game. It's just, and again, I talk about all those issues on the Let's Play series in general, and we've talked about it on the podcast before. But I'm gonna wait for reviews. Essentially, that's the point. I guess I'm trying to make here is I'm going to end up waiting. I'm not pre-ordering this. I'm going to wait for reviews. And if it gets a bunch of 7s and 8s, I'll probably just skip it.
Oh, it's a remake, so it's going to get a bunch of 7s and 8s, man. I mean, we've kind of honestly been dancing around this topic the whole episode with just various things we've talked about. The problem with remakes is you have to remake something that already existed. I mean, the Dead Space remake, like you said, it was a good game. It's just not something else you'd ever go back and play. But if you're calling it a good/great game in 2023 or 2024, depending on whenever you played it, it was probably a hell of a game 12 years ago, you know? But you can only upgrade so much. You have to completely throw out everything old and build from the ground up, kind of like they did with Final Fantasy VII. I mean, that game was so outdated they couldn't just rebuild it. They had to completely burn it down and start over from scratch. And they blew it out of the park. But at the end of the day, whether you're a fan of the series or not, I know it's kind of a cult thriller and a cult classic, it's still a remake. So I think expectations can only be so high for Silent Hill 2.
This is true. Because again, like you said, they're going to be huge fans of the OG game, and then they're going to play this game. They're like, oh, this doesn't meet. Like, nostalgia has a lot to play in what expectations that you have on something. Like, if they remade the games, the Hot Wheels game from the N64, or if they remade Battle Tanks from N64.
Oh, God.
If they remade those games, I don't know how I would feel about them, because I played the fuck out of both those games, especially Battle Tanks.
Yeah, me too. Battle Tanks. This is a little Red Squad, dude. Fuck everybody up.
Yep. So I don't know if they would ever, if they, like, my nostalgia for that is so high, I don't know if it would ever, like, they would ever achieve meeting my expectations on a remake for that. Same thing goes for, I don't know, like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, or any of those older games. You start getting into remakes, and you start having to deal with, not only is this a great game, but then you also have to deal with nostalgia, which is a huge aspect of whether or not you're gonna love a remake or not. I think.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. So like I said, you either
But
got to just go into it expecting it to be like the old or completely strip it down and start over. It's really the only two ways to do it successfully.
yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. But then it also brings in new fans like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, all those remakes. I had never played those games before, so like that brought me into it, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
now I love both of those games except the Titan. Fuck that dude.
Right.
Mr. X. Fuck him. Like, dude, like, just let me fucking explore, man. Stop fucking chasing me.
Stop popping out of the walls like the goddamn Kool-Aid man, bro.
Oh, that was the dad from fucking
Oh
Biohazard.
yeah, that
That
was
will.
in by. That
I'm
was,
telling you right now, that'll be one of the gaming moments I will remember for the rest of my life.
and it was
I
like
fucking love that game
5
so much.
different spots too. Like it wasn't just 2. By the end of the third one, I was like, all right, I guess we're done now. They got me. We're good. Nope. No, you're not. It's every fucking
Just
hallway you walk down.
fucking bust right through that kitchen wall. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Little Dane Cook reference. I got it.
Thank you, sir.
But yeah, Biohazard, man. So many good memories of that. So many good memories of that. That's such a great game. So last thing I'll say about the remake for Silent Hill 2, it's for the most part staying the same as far as liberties with the story and the game mechanics. The story is going to remain the same based on the OG game. Completely, fully remade, no loading screens. So that was some of the little details that we got from that review. But moving on to our last little segment before we close out this episode, Nintendo Switch 2 rumored games. Okay, we mentioned this on the episode last week that Nintendo finally said, "Hey, we're gonna reveal the successor to the Nintendo Switch within the next year," and we kind of talked about like games, kind of what they would put on the Nintendo Switch 2 and whether it would be backwards compatible and whatever. If you're interested in some of those thoughts and our discussion on that, then you'll want to go watch or listen to episode 143. But this is just some rumored games that are out there. Apparently, there's a rumored SPR or SP Red game, which people are thinking it's a Super Mario Odyssey sequel.
Hope
Which
so.
I just realized I was like, oh fuck, we haven't had a sequel to that yet.
Nope. Sure have not. And that was actually one of the most memorable and enjoyable Mario games that I can recall ever playing. I enjoyed that game a lot, really.
Oh, it was so fucking good. How you
It
could
was.
go between like old and new, and they
Mm-hmm.
had it all in the same level. I was like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
fucking good.
It was tight, dude. I love that shit.
But then I started wondering, I'm like, and no fucking pun intended, Super Mario Wonder.
Huh.
I realized that I didn't even fucking play that game, and I'm like, I love fucking Mario, but I like somehow just skipped right over that game.
I didn't play it either. You're not alone, friend. But didn't that one just come out like a year ago?
Yeah, I want to say it was
Or,
like
uh,
fall of last year or something like that. Summer
yeah,
of
no,
last
I
year.
haven't. I haven't even thought about playing it, to be honest with you. I remember when we talked about it being announced, and then forgot that it was going to exist. So
Yeah, the little side-scrolling game, which we grew up on those games, so
yep.
I'm all about a side-scrolling Super Mario game. Which that's a really cool thing about Mario is the fact that they can go back and forth between those two different styles, and people love both styles, and it keeps it fresh to me.
Yeah, evolving to your audience, man. Keeping the old while inducting the new, I guess.
So yeah, Odyssey sequel, which it's crazy that we have not gotten a sequel to that. That game came out what 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
It came out with the Switch, so I think the Switch first hit the racks in 17, so 7 years ago.
Jesus,
Wasn't that
that's
the
a long.
that was the launch game for the Switch, right? So it would have come out at the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
that and Zelda.
Ah, the forgotten Zelda game. So
Breath of
sad.
the Wild, the one that got basically remade and made better.
Exponentially better, which is saying something. That's but still, yes.
So,
Segway.
segue into a rumored Legend of Zelda game. Now, this was kind of weird on the rumors here. It's a project titled Edward, which they're assuming is a new Legend of Zelda game. But there's been rumors of a Twilight Princess remake, which I've never played,
Nor have
or it's
I.
a brand new series altogether. Because they've talked about the Tears of the Kingdom was the last of the Breath of the Wild style, which I think is 100% what they need to do. They don't give us a Breath of the Wild 3. I think I don't think that's necessarily the route to go, because how do you make Tears of the Kingdom better? You know,
I think you give me a remake of Ocarina of Time in Breath of the Wild style. I think that's how you, because I'm playing the shit out of that. You don't have to give me everything Tears of the Kingdom had. You can simplify it down some because you're not going to be able to build on Tears of the Kingdom at this point, obviously. But the open world playstyle where you're free to do things at your own pace and as you want to, if I could do that and follow the storyline of Ocarina of Time, I'd give you $100 yesterday.
that sounds fucking dope. I'm all about it. Take my money now.
I'll pay double.
I'll pay
Truthfully,
double.
I'll buy a Nintendo Switch 2 for that. Like legitimately, I can't think of anything else that would make me go tomorrow to buy one if I could get that game and that console, except for that. But I would do it.
Mm-hmm. You know, we like I said, we talked about this on episode 143, and the fact that they just haven't been releasing games the past like year or so. I don't know if that has anything to do with the C word, or if it's the fact that they're coming out a new Switch. Look, I'm in this whole, I guess this whole episode's about remakes and shit like that, I guess. I'd be down for a Twilight Princess remake. I've never played it. You played, what was the remake that they, or not remake, but the port or whatever that they
Skyward
brought?
Sword.
Yes. You said that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. You could tell it was a very janky port over, but I mean it was done well enough to play without pissing you off. It just kind of irritated you at times.
See,
But
don't port it, remake it.
yeah, agreed. I fully agree.
Because then you, like you said, you have to worry about the controller, and they're vastly different controllers. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to just go ahead and just remake the entire thing.
Yes, now the hand movements did not port over well at all for Skyward Sword from the
Mm-hmm.
game, or not from the GameCube, from the Wii. It did not translate for fuck. Like it was real bad. But just to play it, in handheld mode or just to play it on a controller, it was fine. Yeah, it was fine.
But yeah, man. As far as the rumored games, I would assume those are games that are going to be launching with the Nintendo Switch. I'm assuming the Nintendo Switch 2 will be released fall of next year, if I had to guess, with it being announced within the next fiscal year. So, I mean, that would give these games another year and a half to like bake in the oven and make them a little bit better. Do you want? Do I guess the last question that I'll pose to you is Legend of Zelda. Do they go open world with a brand new game, or do they go back to more of I guess, a more linear experience as like some of the other games?
So it's a brand new game and brand new storyline either way. And you're asking me if we go open world again or if we take a step back.
Correct.
All right, brand new game, brand new storyline.
Brand new art design.
Right. I don't know, man. It's kind of like you said earlier. You're not gonna outdo Tears of the Kingdom. And I know I said that about Breath of the Wild when I played Breath of the Wild, and then Tears of the Kingdom just put it right in the dumpster, I guess. But I
Made it
really,
obsolete.
yes, it deleted it for sure. But I just don't see how you're gonna beat that if you go open world. But at the same time, like games have evolved so much that I don't really know how far back you could go and make it still. It's Nintendo and it's Legend of Zelda. It's gonna sell either way. But if I'm looking at it from a consumer standpoint rather than an aggregated sales standpoint, I don't know that you could go all the way back to like the days of the N64 or even the Wii, and that style still translate well enough to keep people invested.
I I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate here, and I will use Super Mario to kind of not prove my point, but kind of expand on my point a little bit. I mentioned a minute ago. I was like, hey, they can go from side scrolling to 3D, and they can kind of bounce back and forth between those two different styles, and it kind of keeps it fresh to me. I think if you go open world with the next Legend of Zelda game, you run the risk of two things. One, okay, this is not Tears of the Kingdom anymore, and you have those huge Tears of the Kingdom fans that will die on a hill for that game, rightfully so. And then you have the critics of that game for many different reasons. And then you're looking at this new game and you're comparing this open world to that open world. I think you need to swap it back and forth, and whether that's putting remakes in between each game or going back to more of a linear experience, kind of like Final Fantasy 16 versus like Rebirth, in a way. I think that would lend itself better for the overall series because you want to keep it fresh. Like Final Fantasy, every single game is different in terms
Mm-hmm.
of whether it's how linear it is, how open it is, the combat, all that good stuff. And I think that plays a lot into how every game is, like replayability, I guess you could say. And then you have Mario that changes it up every single game. I think Zelda needs to do the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I would just have to see how it was done. Like I
Yeah.
mean, the I don't know. I It's like for Mario, it's one thing to me because every single installment is relatively different while we're still relatively still Mario in some aspect or another. So I think the shift between the old and the new is just a seemingly closer adjustment on a bell curve. But when you look at 1997 Ocarina of Time on the N64 versus 2023 Tears of the Kingdom, I don't know where the happy medium is that you're going to be able to flop back and forth between two things even remotely similar to that. Maybe Twilight Princess and you go to Dreamland at night or something. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, you know, because it's not going to be as simple. I don't think it's going to be as simple as a toggle button like it was in Odyssey.
That's true.
It's going to have to be a game prompted transition, I believe. I mean, again, I'm not a fucking game designer. I don't know they could do it. I'm just thinking critically with my little man brain here. I don't understand how you could. I don't know. The old and the new with Mario is a lot more similar than the old and the new with Zelda. So it just seems like a wall that's going to have to be climbed over.
It'll be interesting which path they take. Whether it's a remake and they let a couple more years pass by and they work on a brand new one. I I don't know. Something tells me it's gonna be a brand new game before it's a remake for the new Nintendo Switch. For the new Nintendo Switch.
Right. I think it just depends on when they actually plan to launch it. If it's actually going to be next year, then I think it's going to be a remake. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom is still way too fresh for a brand new Zelda game.
I will agree. I think we're more likely to get. See, it's interesting because you want to launch the new Nintendo Switch with a big fucking game, like two big games. I think would be something that you would want to do, right? And Zelda and
Mm-hmm.
Mario would obviously be those two big properties. So, and again, we're kind of beating a dead horse here, talking about it last week. Do they just give you another Tears of the Kingdom? Hyped up, better graphics and better performance and yada yada yada, and a brand new Mario game along with that, or is it just brand new properties altogether? I think it's gonna be interesting over the next year on leaks and rumors coming out on what their plan is for that launch period.
Outside of the few installments that are gonna default come with a launch like Odyssey 2, probably, I don't think they're gonna go over the top, because I think they saw, especially with the way the world is in production of technological equipment right now, being halted since the C word, obviously, and just now kind of coming back. When Sony launched the PS5 and when Xbox launched the Series S, there was a wave of people that bought them, and then nobody could get one for 3 to 4 months. And then after 3 to 4 months, there was another wave of people that bought them, and then nobody could get them for 3 or 4 months. And then after that, the scalpers were ahead of everybody. They bought them, so there were people buying 5 at a time and then selling them for $2,500 a pop because nobody could get any more. So, knowing Nintendo the way I do, they know they're going to sell all the consoles they want to sell eventually anyway. They'll probably keep it light enough at launch that they won't completely sell out. But then 6 months to a year later, they'll probably drop 2 to 3 titles that people are going to run to the store just so they can get a Switch 2 to play them on.
That sounds about right. Oh, Nintendo. Fucking motherfuckers.
And I hate that I'm one of those people that have been fucked over enough by them to predict their behavior, but it's probably how it's going to go down. I mean, just realistically, dude, I'm not buying a Switch 2 to play Mario Odyssey 2. Mm-hmm. I'll buy a Switch 2 to play, like I said earlier, I'll buy a Switch 2 to play an Ocarina of Time remake in real time. 1,000%.
1,000%. All right, sir. Let's close this episode out with our weekly recommendations. What do you recommend to the fine people out there?
Go get caught up on those 4 Kickstarter episodes of My Hero, guys, because it's almost here, and it is going to be peak. Absolute peak.
So I know I was talking a lot of shit, not a lot of shit, but I was hyping up Furiosa, and y'all should definitely go watch that. I'm actually going to recommend another movie, okay? And this review's coming out later this week, maybe next week for the public. It'll come out this week for Patreon supporters, which all that is down below in the link, in the description below. Excuse me. Like I had a brain fart. In the description below, there are links which will send you to our Patreon, which you can get all of our content a lot earlier than what you would get them through the public. The First Omen, I would recommend people go check that out. It is on Hulu, so you can watch it if you have that. I think it's worth buying, honestly, and it is that good.
All right.
I've never watched any of the Omen movies up till now. It is a pure horror movie. It starts off kind of slow, but it just slowly builds and it just becomes more tense. And some of the shit that they put in that movie, I'm like, God damn, bro, you had some problems as a child.
You need to see someone.
You might need to see somebody, man. There is some demonic shit going on in this fucking movie, dude. There's demons fucking making women pregnant and shit like that. It's fucking crazy.
Holy hell.
Yeah. It is absolutely crazy movie. And while it can be predictable at times, I think it is a great watch. And while the story's predictable, the shit that you see in the movie is not. So I would just leave it at that. The First Omen, go check it out. Some great performances in that. The guy that played Sid on Final Fantasy 16 is in this movie. Granted, he's not in it as nearly as much as I want him to, but he is in the movie.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
All right.
The First Omen on Hulu. Go check it out, or wait for my review, and I'll go into it a little bit deeper. Shout out. But guys, that is going to be it from us. Chris, thank you for joining me, sir.
Absolutely, man. Enjoy your delve back into Rebirth today, and I will do the same as well.
I will. And you enjoy your next 10 hours on it, sir.
Yes, about that.
All right, guys, that is going to be it from us, and we'll catch y'all next week on another episode. Laters.
Later, guys.
All right. I got to peace out. I got to go pick up our grocery order at Walmart.
All right, buddy. You do you, man.
All right, bro. Later.
Later, man.